Hello and welcome to the sewing studio. Today I'm going to show you how to make the quilt behind me, and this is called a crazy 9 patch. It's really easy to do, it's fun to do, there's no pattern and it's very free with how you cut it. The one behind me has been made with 16 10-inch squares, so you can make this as big as you want or as small as you want. And all you need to start with are some 10-inch squares. So you can either cut these for yourself or you can use a layer cake. And what you need to do is take 2 squares, line them up with the right sides looking at you, line them up. And you want to go with something that's a different tone to the top one that you've got. So you can see here I've got this sort of rusty colour and then I've got this chocolatey brown colour with yellow. So I'm going to line those up, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler, and the good thing would be here to have a new blade in your cutter because you're going to cut through 2 layers of fabric at the same time. So I've got a nice new blade, so you can put the ruler wherever you want. We did a video recently where we just cut at an angle, and this is similar, but we're going to do that twice. So let me show you what I mean. So I'm slightly offset there, so I'm going to make a cut, and then I'm going to go the other way, and then I've got this lovely Alpha cutting mat which rotates, so I'm just going to turn that. How good is that? And then I'm going to do the same thing the other way. So you can see the cut there. I'm now going the other way. And it doesn't matter which angle you choose or how you cut it. And then what you do is you pick up your corner pieces. Let's just pop those under there. Each of the corner pieces. And swap them out. And then your middle piece. And you're going to swap that out. And that is your block. And you're going to do that with all of the squares until you've got the size that you want. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to go over to the machine, and I'm going to show you how I put those together. So we're just going to use a 1/4 inch seam, and we're going to join these pieces. Now sometimes when you join at an angle you need to leave a bit of fabric overhanging, but with this we need to line it up as perfectly as we can to how it was cut. So I'm going to do a little bit of chain piecing. So again, I'll show you, I'm going to line up the corners because it's cut at an angle. So I line it corner to corner like this. And I'm just going to join the end piece to each of these. I'll just double check I've got that in the right place. Yeah, that's the right one. Now I'm just going over to the iron to press these. So I'm setting my seam from the direction that I've sewn, And then I'm going to press these towards the darker brown fabric. And if I do that with all of the pieces that I'm pressing towards the darker side, they will interlock better. Then I'm going to line them back up. And you can see now that these will interlock better because I've pressed them to the opposite side. So don't pin from the edge inwards because your fabric will move. So if you just pin at the seam, and don't worry too much about the edges because when we've sewn this together, we're going to square the whole block up. So the important thing is that we get the centres to match. Now normally I'd just go and sew that first and then come back and pin it. But for the purposes of today, I'm going to pin the other one just to save time on this video. So I'm going back to the machine and I'm just going to sew those two seams. I'm going back to the iron to press that. So I'll just set the seams and then flip them back, give it a good press. I've caught that seam a little bit, but it's not going to matter. It's certainly not worth unpicking. And there we have our crazy 9-patch block. So the next thing we need to do is we need to square the block, and we're going to square this to 8.5 inches. So I've got this Creative Grids ruler, which is 8.5-inch square, which is perfect for the job. And I'm going to put it on the rotating cutting mat because that makes life so much easier. Just move these pieces. So I'm going to put that on the rotating mat, and I'm going to take my 8.5-inch ruler and I'm going to centre that. You would do that with all of your blocks. So you can see you've got a nice square 8.5-inch block. So you would do that with as many blocks as you wanted to make the quilt as big as you wanted. So we're now going to go over to the quilt behind me, and we're going to talk about how this was put together and the sizes of the sashing and borders. So this quilt measures approximately 40 inches square. And as I say, I used 16 layer cake squares to make this. So what I did was I cut my sashing at 1 3/4 inches and framed the blocks with that. And then I cut my border at 3.5 inches. So the borders are actually a bit bigger than the sashing. And with this quilt, I used a new wadding. Well, it's new for me. Normally, I'm all about cotton wadding, but I've given this wadding a try, and this is called a super soft eco blend, and it's 70% recycled cotton and 30% recycled polyester. And it really is lovely. It was easy to work with. It feels really nice. It's thick. It was a real game changer for me, because normally, as I say, I always go with cotton, but I think I might be a convert to this one. I really like this, and it was brilliant with the quilting as well. So that's what I used for my wadding. My backing, I used a Bella Solid, which is the 60-inch wide fabric for the backing of this one. And I've also used the same colour backing as my binding. And my binding was cut at 2.5 inches. And I've done a very, very simple quilting on it. I've just gone 1/4 inch in round all the blocks, as you can see here. So it almost looks a bit like tram lines there. And then I've just come out 1/4 inch and framed the quilt, because I think there's so much going on with the blocks. I didn't want too much quilting to take away from what's going on in the blocks. So a really quick, fun, easy project to make, no pattern, very freeing with how you cut your blocks. So as always, make it your own, have fun, and I look forward to seeing you next time here in the sewing studio.